With the state of today's economy, it is more important than ever to invest in products that last for years to come. As the seasons shift and get cooler, make sure your closet is stocked with durable layers that stand the test of time from American Giant. American Giant's clothes work harder and are wearable season after season. Their greatest hoodie ever made is made of the highest quality materials that are cut and sewn right here in the United States. So you're investing right back into your local community. Choosing American Giant means taking a stand for American manufacturing and hardworking Americans, something other mega corporations don't care about. From fleece to knit, all in a range of colors for versatile daily wear, American Giant delivers everyday pieces designed for everyday life. Feel the difference of quality made-to-last clothes from American Giant. Get 20% off your first order with code STAPLE20 at american-giant.com. That's 20% off your first order at american-giant.com with code STAPLE20.
Welcome to Witchcast!
'Cause it's Witchcast.
I'm Emily.
I'm Kate.
And we're your co-hosts of this, the Witchcast podcast.
That's right. We're your learning, growing, ever-evolving novice witches here to explore everything under the woo-woo, esoteric, spiritual umbrella.
And what a beautiful umbrella it is. And today, we have a very special guest.
That's right. We're so excited to welcome into our astral plane studio. She is a writer, audio producer, and witch. Please welcome Laurel Hostak Jones.
Yay!
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
We're so excited to have you here.
So excited to have you. So this is very exciting because not only are you the creator and producer and I guess solo host of the very successful podcast Sleep and Sorcery, but you also have a new book coming out August of this year, 2024, of your stories that you do on your podcast, Sleep and Sorcery, a collection of enchanting bedtime stories, rituals, and spells for meaningful rest. Yes. Right? Very exciting.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. So many things to talk about because we typically every season try to do a book club episode, but this is a unique and special situation because the book is not quite out yet. So we got a sneak peek and we got to read an advanced copy. And also, but a lot of your stories are already out there in podcast form. So
yes.
Diving right in, can you talk to us about the podcast? What was the inspiration behind Sleep and Sorcery as a podcast? How did you come up with the idea? How did it come to life?
Absolutely. Well, first I'll let you in on a little secret, which is that there is a limited edition hardcover that's available now through the publisher only. Oh. So through crosscrowbooks.com, you can order the hardcover, which is this beautiful like foil cover with a book jacket. They just did such a gorgeous job with it. It's like
wow.
My book in my hands is like holding my baby.
That's so
anyway.
Cool.
But the full paperback that's going to be worldwide, that's going to be available in August, like you said. So definitely get those pre-orders in now, and then you can find that wherever books are sold. Amazing. And then, turning to the podcast, I started Sleep and Sorcery 2 years ago. I just had like our 2-year birthday in March, which is
Happy
wild.
birthday.
It feels like I started it yesterday, but also
forever.
Like I've been doing it forever. Yeah. And it came about a year after my first child was born, my son Arthur, and he really was the thing that initiated me starting the podcast. I've always been a writer, and having a kid, I don't know if you know, but when you have a kid, you stop sleeping for like an extended period of time.
I've heard that.
Yeah, you go through like sustained levels of like torture sleep deprivation. It's truly miserable. And I'm someone who's struggled with insomnia my entire life as well. So I was in this kind of weird space of having had a kid and feeling like I really kind of lost myself in the early stages of motherhood. It's really easy to just kind of throw yourself very much into that service and forget the things that make you you. So I kind of went on this journey of wanting to come back to myself, come back to the things that made me feel like me, made me feel creative, made me feel individual, powerful, and important. And that was writing. So bringing together this like broken relationship that I had with sleep, and then this desire to reconnect to my creativity was what started Sleep and Sorcery for me. So it is a podcast that I produce where every week I share an original bedtime story that is geared towards mostly adults. They're appropriate for all ages, but there are some like more complex themes that, younger audiences may not fully comprehend. And they're all inspired by folklore, fantasy, mythology, magic, ritual, these things that are important parts of my life and my daily practice. And I read these stories that I write each week in a soothing cadence, and then pair them usually with a meditation or some kind of body scan or exercise to hopefully induce sleep in the listener. And writing that every week, writing a story that is literally intended to put someone to sleep is like, for me, it was the most accessible way for me to return to a writing practice and then create a really sustainable writing practice, because it takes a ton of the pressure out of writing. The instinct to really choose every word very carefully is still there for me, and I'm still working very hard to craft something that is safe, that is stable, that is comfortable, and that can hopefully be transcendent. But I also have the kind of safety valve of like, if I'm doing my job right, after a certain point, nobody hears this. And so it becomes this kind of flow for me. And so, yeah, that's how it started. That was kind of how it was inspired. It has grown to something far beyond what I could possibly have imagined. I was really doing this in the beginning for myself and thought maybe a few people would find a little bit of help with their insomnia from it. And we just passed our 2 million download mark. So
exciting.
Amazing. Congratulations.
It's really
A lot of
cool.
people not sleeping well these days.
I know.
But maybe better now because of you.
Yeah, but better because of you. Yeah.
I hope so. So yeah, that's where Sleep and Sorcery came from and what it has kind of become. And then in the last year, I turned towards the idea of collecting the stories. There were people who had asked or had
I was going to ask, was it always like the thing you knew you wanted to do, or did it sort of declare itself?
Right. Well, I always wanted to write books. I always wanted to be able to hold something physical in my hand. And then there was this desire that kept coming up from folks saying, I would love to have a collection of these. I always fall asleep, so I never get to the end of the story. Or I'd love to be able to revisit parts of them, at my own time. And was super fortunate and blessed to, find this relationship with Crosscrow Books, who were interested in publishing the collection and packaging this into what I hope is a bedside companion for folks, and what I also hope is for people who already practice magic or ritual or are interested in practicing magic or ritual, to incorporating that into their kind of their rest patterns, their sleep, and the way that they recharge.
Yeah, I love it so much. Kate was already a listener. I'm just finding out about it now. I've been scraping by on regular sleep stories, but
you chump, Emily.
I know, and I love them, but this is better.
I mean, it's so funny. So yeah, I was telling Laurel and Emily, like, it was complete coincidence. I didn't even realize until I put the two and two together, but my husband and I both listened to your podcast and have been listening for months. My husband has terrible insomnia. He has a really hard time falling asleep. I have to say, not to brag, but I sleep like a log.
Champion sleeper. Awesome.
I know, not to humble brag, but I do fall asleep really easily, but I love listening to stories, especially there's just something about it. And your account, I listen through Insight Timer. I know your podcast is available across multiple platforms. You can listen to it wherever podcasts are available, as well as YouTube and on Insight Timer, which is such a great app. And so we'll put it on an Insight. I found it on Insight Timer, and yours is the one I always was gravitated towards, because I find it so, the format is so special. I think your voice is so soothing. I love the music. So I want to talk a bit about the podcast. And I think the book is really special. I think they're both different, even though the content, the main stories are, a lot of them, the same, but there is a special story that's only in the book, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
So let's talk. I want to just ask a couple questions about your writing process a little further, because I think what's really special and what makes me conk out immediately with your stories is that you write in the second person, which I think is really unique. And I haven't really seen that in a lot of these like bedtime story type podcasts, or, there's a lot of sleep time.
Yeah, even
bedtime.
books and short stories, you don't see a lot of second.
It's not that
second
common.
person.
And I love it because it feels, I don't know, when I'm listening to your voice, when I'm reading the story on the page, it feels like a dream, right? And that it feels like you're almost casting a spell, and like we're there. And it puts me immediately kind of in this different headspace. So walk us through that choice. Like, how did you come to that decision? What was kind of your thought process in writing in the second person?
You've really voiced a lot of it with just the impressions that you have. Really, I was moved by the idea of making these as immersive as possible. So taking you as the listener on a journey that does feel surreal, that does feel dreamlike, that does feel like you can step away from whatever is worrying you and into this magical garden or into this fantasy setting, and that you can take in what's happening and filter it through your own perspective. And I like to kind of play with what the perspective is, who the point of view characters are. And there are times when that point of view character is really a blank slate, going through something that an everyday person could possibly experience if, there were portals to the other world here and there. And then sometimes there's a very specific character in mind, whether that is a character that I am recreating out of myth, or the situation that they're placed in is very specific and unique and not something that an everyday person would encounter. So like you are the heir to a lost kingdom in some medieval high fantasy realm, probably not your everyday experience. Or like you are Prometheus and you have stolen fire from the gods, probably not your everyday experience. But I invite you to step into that and to think about what that would do to your perspective and how that can help you kind of move out of whatever is keeping you from sleep, hopefully, and also whatever is keeping your mind occupied and making you not feel so comfortable. So, yes, there was this desire to create like total immersion into the fantasy. And I think part of it also comes from my theater background, because I come from performance and design and specifically interactive theater.
Not to interrupt here, but just to say, Kate and I both also did theater degrees. So
Yes,
theater girlies.
There's like a theater to witch pipeline.
There is a direct theater to witch pipeline.
I really agree. Like something wicked this way comes. Come on. So yeah, I really was drawn to immersive and interactive theater when I was really working in that industry, and I tried to create theater that was more installation-like.
I love it.
And
that's so cool.
And the audience members were usually ambulatory. Like there were things to do as an audience member that were not like get up on stage and have me, roast you. It's like I need you to go and find this thing that's in the theater somewhere and bring it back so that we can build a monument together. So really encouraging, audience members to go on a journey, whether that's physical, mental, spiritual. And then that has kind of worked its way into the writing that I do for Sleep and Sorcery.
I love that.
That's really cool. I love.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't want to get distracted because now I want to go into a whole thing about interactive theater, but we can't. There's too much else to talk about.
That's for a different podcast. That's our next podcast.
Yeah, that's part 2. So you mentioned already a little bit about your inspiration for these stories from, your practice myths, legends, folk tales, folklore. But can you walk us a little bit through your writing process? Because I think you mentioned this in your intro of the book too, that there's a bit of a ritual aspect to this. Walk us through a bit of that process.
Of course. Yeah, I'm a very intuitive writer. I weirdly, I kind of thrive in structured environments, but I can't stand too much constraint. So I have, over the last 2 years, as I've been kind of honing sleep and sorcery, I feel like I have created a kind of ritual intuitive process for how these stories come together. And part of that is laying a little roadmap for myself. So if you listen to the stories, there is usually like a paragraph of summary at the beginning of all of them, which serves a couple of purposes. It's hopefully to like encourage the listener to know that like nothing dangerous is going to happen in this story. You don't need to be anxious about anything, or if there is something that like personally is not your thing, you know about it in advance so you can choose another one. And then also it's like, if you fall asleep, this is how the story ends. Like,
Love it.
I'll pretty much explain all of it to you. Spoilers at the top. So, but that is also the roadmap for me. I do that before I do anything else. I write this one paragraph overview of what I'm hoping to achieve. And sometimes I will start with an emotion or like a focus or an intention that I think ties in with the inspiration for the story and the meditation that I'll craft into it. Usually I actually don't start with that intention. I start with, what inspired me, what story am I telling, and then the intention of the story kind of organically flourishes within it, which is a super magical alchemical process. Like I can't even explain it sometimes. Like I'll go in thinking, I'm writing this story about, or I'm adapting this myth, and I think I really want to consider the the pitfalls of immortality, right? and actually like drive home some of the joys of impermanence within this story. And then I'll be doing a little bit of research or like kind of helping myself get through the details of the retelling, and I'll find pieces of that like pitfalls of immortality thread throughout my research. And I'm like, oh, wow, it was there subconsciously, and I just kind of brought it forth. And then as far as like really sitting down to do it, I work very fast.
Good.
I turn these around really quickly. I try to get ahead when I am in between seasons. And right now I'm like a week and a half ahead, which is amazing. But normally I'm writing these and recording them within a week.
Yeah,
That's insane. That's
You're really hustling.
it's crazy. Like
for a sleepy podcast.
I know.
Yeah.
I need to get some sleep. But then there are things that I do to kind of protect that space around writing and to make it a little bit more, to just heighten it, to bring in more sensory aspects of it. I love to write with fragrance. Like I love incense. I love candles. I love perfume. Like I love anything that is like super sensory and can kind of open inspiration to that. And my stories usually end up being very sensory. There's a lot of description about like what you hear, what you see, what you smell, and what that is supposed to elicit emotionally or spiritually. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah.
But
No, yeah, totally. Yeah, very Strasbourg of you.
yeah. A lot of how I answer this is like, I have no idea how I'm doing it. It's happening. It's like flowing. So I'm just not going to question it. But there is some.
It's incredible
You're
that
connected with the source. You know?
Yeah, right.
that you're able to churn these out week after week, and I mean, it's incredible. Do you also put on any kind of music or anything like that? Do you get into any sort of meditative headspace while you write? Or, I'm just curious. I also I know this might be a silly question, but do you ever find yourself falling asleep while you're writing your own story?
Oh my gosh. So I never find myself falling asleep while writing, but I did once while I was recording, like find myself nearly nodding off. Like my head was like against the microphone. But also like I get really sleepy at 2 p.m. and that's usually when I'm recording.
Yeah.
But
That
yeah.
afternoon slump, man, that's hard.
Yeah. Oh man, it's really hard.
The post lunch.
As far as music, it's funny. I don't usually have music on when I'm writing for some reason, unless I'm writing something that takes place in a medieval or Arthurian setting. If I'm writing something that is medieval or Arthurian, I have to have like madrigals or like medieval bagpipe music playing. I just need it. I just absolutely need it. And it really gets me into that space. What I also love is the soundtrack to the A24 movie, The Green Knight. Oh my God. It's so good. It's so evocative. And it's kind of spooky. So I try not to like let that infuse the writing too much. 'Cause I don't
You don't want it to become too suspenseful.
people
You know
out.
what? That's at the top. I need to watch that this weekend. It's at the top of our list to watch.
I really liked it.
I enjoy it so much.
Yeah.
It looks
I-
really good.
Love it. On my other podcast, actually, I have a review and analysis of that. So
Oh,
check
wait,
it out.
what podcast is that? Drop it. Drop the name.
Yes. So I've been podcasting actually for like 8 years with my husband. And we do a show called The Midnight Myth, which has a little bit of a smaller audience, but we are a pop culture podcast and we examine history, mythology, and philosophy through today's movies and TV.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's really fun, and we don't get to do it as much or as regularly as we used to because we have a toddler running around.
And
it's
you also
really
have another
hard.
regular podcast, and you're publishing a book, and no
Yeah,
big
we're
deal.
just a little bit busy, but it is still it's a really fun show, and you get to hear my natural voice. Not that my sleep and sorcery voice isn't natural, but
yeah,
but
It's
yeah.
a little more, highs and lows. And
yeah. Yes.
Well, so you've been podcasting for a long time because for us there was a steep learning curve. I feel like for Emily and I, we've tried a lot of different equipment and different like software, and I'm sure our listeners can attest the quality's gone up and down over the years. It's
yeah. Well, the pandemic was also like we
Right.
were doing it in person up until then, and then we're like,
Yeah. It changed everything.
But,
yeah.
yeah. But I think we've worked it out for the most part.
yeah,
It's sort of
yeah.
like, I think it's in a good place.
Yeah.
Another
Yeah, there is a
microphone.
learning curve for sure.
So tell us, do you have a favorite story or a particularly memorable story, that you have? I mean, I'm sure all of you have, like all of your children,
They're
you
all
love
great,
them equally,
but, yeah.
but
I do.
have
I
to
love
ask.
But
I
like
love
all
my
children, do you
babies.
really have a favorite?
I do, and it's funny because I don't think it's anyone else's favorite, and I think like if if anyone else was combing through my stories, they wouldn't necessarily have chosen this one to be in the book, but I was like, this is the one that like the whole book hinges on for me. And it's from my second season of Sleep and Sorcery. It's in the book. It's called Cauldron of Caridwen. And this story is super dear and special to me for a number of reasons. One of those being that Caridwen, the goddess that the story refers to, she's a Welsh goddess of inspiration, of fertility, of harvest, of many other things. Her myth is something that really called to me when I was super young, and I still tie to kind of the core of my identity as a witch, as someone who is now practicing on a druid path as well.
Oh, wow.
And she has always been kind of one of the guiding stars of my interest in Celtic mythology. And it's also a story very much about motherhood, very much about creativity, about inspiration, about poetry, and where those things come from, the deep source of the magic that comes from. And so writing it was just one of the more kind of inspiring and fluid experiences of my creative career.
Wow.
And it also just felt like I was able to kind of connect with this deity that I felt so strongly about for a really long time and do her some service kind of in response. And then also, connect to my identity as a mother, which, like I said, I lost myself a little bit in it at the beginning and also never felt naturally like I was fully a mother, or that I could connect to that archetype in the way that some people can.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like closing that loop or threading that needle of like the creative force of motherhood was just super exciting to me.
I love that.
That's really beautiful.
So I hope people enjoy it.
Yeah. I also, that reminds me, I wanted to talk really quick for our listeners, since they're all interested in witch stuff. I really loved that the way that the whole book is structured around the Wheel of the Year.
Yeah.
A little sneak peek. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but
No, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, it's the stories are sort of like paired up with the different solstices and different events on the Wheel of the Year, which I love, and I love. It's such a great way to sort of like it brings them all together in a way that really feels cohesive and cool, and witchy. Was that something you knew you wanted to do, or was it when you started putting them together you thought that, or like what? How did that come about?
It was, oh my goodness, my familiar has decided to
Oh,
say
welcome. Well, you have to pay the pet tax now and send a picture of your cat so we can post it on our Instagram.
I will. Yeah, this is Claudius.
Oh, hi, Claudius.
Hi, Claudius.
Oh,
How handsome.
you're driving me crazy today.
Look at that look at that coloring. I love the white with the black.
And he's a polydactyl cat, so he has the thumbs
Oh.
Nice.
for more mischief. you
Yeah,
know?
a little
Yes.
extra mischief.
A
One
little-
extra toe for mischief.
Extra
Thumbs
thumbs
for extra
for
mischief.
extra mischief. Okay, we were talking about the Wheel of the Year. So I am constantly working as I generate the stories. I'm constantly working in that framework and kind of living in the framework of the Wheel of the Year, the kind of eightfold festivals, Sabbats, solstices, equinoxes. And then drawing from seasonal changes and seasonal cycles to gather inspiration for the stories and to kind of orient them for the listener. And so I have an abundance of stories that either are directly inspired by a solstice, an equinox, or a Sabbat, or some that are just heavily inspired by an element that is associated with a point on the Wheel of the Year, or a spoke on the Wheel of the Year, or, seasonal changes and seasonal cycles. So this already exists very much within my oeuvre. And then I was looking for a way to kind of structure the stories that I had chosen to appear in the book. And this just felt like a really natural approach. And I put it forward in the kind of introduction as like, this is one way that you could use this book. And this is why I've chosen to orient the stories this way. You might, read this story and practice or, take on this paired exercise with it at this time of the year when this feels appropriate, or feel it out. I just wanted to give people an opportunity to kind of connect that with what's going on in the natural world at the time that they're kind of taking in that story. So yeah, and it's always in what I'm writing. I'm always conscious of it. And while that might make the stories like a little dated, if you don't want to listen to a winter solstice story when it's 100 degrees out, but maybe you do. Maybe you like really crave that kind of seasonal energy at different points of the year. So
my delightful Jewish husband always requests the Christmas train when he's feeling sick of all of our sleep stories. Just because
I was going to say, you have a train one that I love to listen to all the time.
Yeah.
Then the winter cabin one. So, I mean, but and that's also, I think, the magic of dream work and sleep ritual. I mean, you can go anywhere at any time, but I also love it anchored in ritual space. So pivoting to the book a bit more, I think that's what's so great is that from my perspective as a podcast listener, that your podcast is, you have, I never get there, but I know you do the body scans or the meditations at the end of the story. But in your book, you have the ritual at the end of each story. So I think that's a really fun differentiator. So talk about how you came up with the rituals at the end of each of your stories that you chose and selected for your book. And did, obviously they, like you said, they slotted into the different aspects of the Sorry, words just failed me just now. But you know, like the different Sabbats and solstices of the year, and then you know, yeah. Talk to me about the rituals that you came up with. I got there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm getting sleepy.
I have that effect on people apparently.
In the best way.
So I tried to cover quite a bit of ground with the rituals that are available within the book, and also keep them very simple and approachable, because this book is for listeners of the podcast. This book is for witches who want to improve and, you know, make meaningful their rest. This book is for people who have never practiced magic before. This book is for people who practice magic every single day. So there are things in there that are explicitly called spells, and then there are things in there that are meditations, and that might be a little bit easier for someone to approach who has never identified as a witch or a magical practitioner or a pagan. And I really tried to orient them around inviting and encouraging people to take their rest seriously, and to give it the kind of reverence and, you know, sacredness that it deserves. So nothing in this book is going to require you to like put a ton of physical or mental or emotional energy in. It's really meant to augment or just kind of add a little bit of dimension to your resting practices. So each ritual or suggested ritual has, you know, a way that you can incorporate it into your personal bedtime or resting ritual. Mm-hmm. There's one in there that's like a ritual walk, and it's really about like getting into a meditative state while you are moving through space, however that is for you. And then there are really concrete rituals like building your dream altar, which is how everything begins. And that's very self-guided, but finding a way to, you know, I'm going to rabbit hole here for a second, but
go on down.
The concept,
with you.
Yeah, the concept that it's rooted in is ancient. It's, and it's known as like dream incubation. And I just did actually a story on this finally for season 4 of Sleep and Sorcery, where you actually like literally go through this ancient practice. But the Greek god Asclepius, who was the god of medicine, was associated with these amazing healing temples in ancient Greece known as Asclepions. And these were early places where medicine was practiced, and they were overseen by physicians and priests. And it was connected with the mythology of Asclepius. And you would go on pilgrimage to this temple, and they would learn about what was ailing you, and they would, you know, put you through this like purification ritual. They would have you like make sacrifices to the gods. They'd have you bathe in their kind of healing springs. And then it all culminated in a dream ritual where you would enter like the core of the dream temple, and you would go into this ritual sleep, and hopefully the god would appear to you and sort of prescribe your course of treatment.
Wow.
Or, you know, you would awake with some sort of insight, or potentially even like have a cathartic healing event in the dream and wake up cured.
So interesting.
That's awesome.
So I'm kind of rooting it in that idea of like using your waking experience to like create a safe, inviting, healing sort of portal to your dreams, right?
Yeah.
So like the perfect outcome of this is like you go into sleep, and whether or not you have like a mystical healing event in your dreams, like you wake up actually experiencing the restoration and the rejuvenation that sleep is supposed to bring us, and so often doesn't. And so a lot of the way that we can hopefully influence that is by changing our waking experiences, or giving more space, more reverence, more sanctity to that sleep space, giving it meaning, and kind of furnishing it with what you want to elicit from the dream world.
So cool. I really do think you struck a really great balance between the sort of like inherent witchiness of the whole thing and making it sort of accessible for a more general audience. And that's like that kind of thing is so cool, where it's sort of like you're not necessarily like calling the corners, but you're doing something that is both like beneficial and like just a little witchy.
Yeah, absolutely. And like incorporate that into your everyday practice. If you have one, incorporate things that are meaningful to you. Make your space sacred in the way that making space sacred is meaningful to you, whether that's calling a circle or that's just offering a little bit of gratitude. This is really just a roadmap or a little bit of guidance along the way.
I think it's something a lot of people don't have at all, is any sort of dream ritual, or they do, but it's like scrolling on my phone in the bathroom for half an hour. But, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I love how purposeful and thoughtful you have been in this entire process for both the book and the podcast. And I think, you know, so I want to speak a little bit about meaningful rest while we're here, because I think, and tying in this idea of a sleep ritual and a dream ritual, because one, it's fascinating, and I love how, like, to Emily's point, what you were saying, it's accessible, because I was just thinking of my friend who has a version of chronic fatigue syndrome, and you know, and I've also been battling like a chronic illness myself that leaves me with a lot of fatigue, and so I love that your rituals don't require a ton of energy, because I think that is something that we encounter a lot with our guests and our listeners, that they really appreciate. Especially in the witchcraft, you know, magic world, a lot of things can seem very daunting and inaccessible because it requires, again, so much energy and
so much money.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, you know, do so much to practice or to be a witch or to just be purposeful or just to experience, you know, to have meaning and to have set intentions. And then on the other hand, I think to really have meaningful rest, something that I was talking about with one of my two therapists that I have right now, was like, what is like meaningful rest that is not just that's not just sleep. Sleep is important, but like also like there's physical rest, there's, you know, mental rest, there's emotional rest, like, and like Emily said, like not just doom scrolling on the toilet, like how can you feed yourself? Like something that I've been trying to like work on with my husband is like, hey, maybe not just disassociate. Maybe do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to, like, I love that ritual of like meditative walks or like building a dream altar, you know, like trying to like nourish and be compassionate with oneself.
Consciously choosing it. And,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Instead of just like whatever habit you fall into.
Yeah. What does meaningful rest mean for you? Can you expound on that as someone who has really been living and working in this space now for 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, that was extraordinarily well said, and that speaks to a lot of the points that I intend going in. I really, when I say meaningful rest, I mean there are more than one layer to that. It's not just sleep and rest that restores and rejuvenates you. That is significant in its like quantity or quality, but it is also it's understanding that resting is part of the work that we do. It is as important as the work we do, if not more important sometimes. We definitely live in a world that expects like constant productivity. And so like it's so hard to reorient your mind to remember that like rest is productive, and also productivity is not necessarily the best outcome or like the ideal outcome of every situation. So it's reorienting your relationship to rest and accepting that it is necessary, and it's healing, it's medicine, it's magic. And then also bringing into it things that are meaningful to you, right? So whether that is a story, whether that is something that you want to search for in your dreams, your unconscious, whether that is, taking on one of those waking experiences that is restful and having that be more meaningful than, binge watching reality TV, which is also like necessary.
Sometimes
good.
you do have to disassociate.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's true. Do you want to say like no judgment? I also do that. Like,
And Top
sometimes
Chef
it's
is
okay.
high quality.
I am a big fan of disassociating. I am
Yes.
currently watching like every season of The Traitors.
Oh.
But like there are also ways to like engage yourself restfully that feed and nourish your mind and spirit. And so, I try to put forth, a few suggested ways to do that. And another one is to, simply pop in one of these stories and let them wash over you, right? Or read a few lines of it and think about a journey that you could be immersing yourself in, or that you can imagine immersing yourself in. So yeah, I don't know if that gets to the heart of it, but yeah, finding those layers of rest that nourish you.
Nourishment for sure.
Yeah.
I do you mind walking us through a little bit of your your bedtime ritual? You talk about this in your book, in your intro, and I love it so much. I like I was thinking about it a lot, and I'm like, I should really do that, because I gotta admit, mine's mostly TikTok. So I'd love to
Yeah.
hear a bit
And
about
there-
your bedtime ritual.
There are some nights when it is just TikTok, but so, and it's funny because I wrote the book going on a year ago, and so it has changed significantly
I'm
because
sure.
my child is a huge part of it. My child's bedtime ritual is a huge part of it, but there are things that we try to keep constant. And I think, something that influenced the way that I wrote this intro and this, what my nightly ritual looks like and how you might approach creating your nightly ritual was brought forth by like my need to create routines around parenting and how much like babies and toddlers crave that. So, I go through it in the book and talk about, putting my 2-year-old down, who's now, 3, almost 3.5, and the specific words that we say, the books that we read, the songs that we sing, the order that we do that, and how he's become like an active participant in it, which has been just like a magical thing to watch happen.
Cool.
Like if we're putting him to bed and we forget to sing the last line of the Beatles song, he's like, "Mommy, we got to sing the song." So it's like we have this nightly ritual, and then we have to really reset after putting the toddler down, and we're getting into spring again and beautiful weather. So not cooped up inside anymore. We have a fire pit out back, or we have our garden out front, and we usually are like, we need 15, 20 minutes, sometimes an hour of like sitting outside, no screens, just like enjoying each other's company, my husband and I. And like, whether we choose the front porch, like the threshold of our house, or the back deck with the fire pit, like really reconfigures what our evening is going to look like. So if we sit out on the front porch, it's like, we're going to look at our flowers, we're going to talk a little bit, and then we're going to go in and, continue our night. If we go out back and we start a fire, like, there's going to be some deep conversations, and like and like usually if there's a fire, we end up like doing a spell, like whether that's just like we write a little intention on a bay leaf and then we throw it in the fire, whatever. We just like we can't help it. If we're making a fire and we're staring at each other across the fire rather than sitting next to each other on the front porch, we always end up like doing some magic.
I love that.
It's always very simple. So like that simple act of like resetting and like connecting to the natural world is like super important for my slowing down after work, after making dinner, after putting my kid to bed. And like that can be a spiritual thing for you. That can just be a get outside and breathe fresh air thing for you.
Yeah. Sometimes the line is blurry, Like,
Yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, that's usually how it begins, and where it goes from there is it is night by night. But adding in little pieces of kind of meaningful interactions, whether that's like if you've made the dream altar and you want to like check in with it before you go to bed, if you have a deity that you work with that you want to like call on for guidance in your dreams, like those are all things that, based on what I'm feeling or not feeling, I might incorporate into kind of my nightly ritual. But always try to get that touchstone with the natural world if the weather permits, you know?
Nice. I feel like this
so
is all
lovely.
bringing me to some of the questions that we ask, like a lot of our guests, both that we kind of started with the book because obviously the book is sort of a big deal and, we want to talk about your podcast. But I feel like this sort of leads me into like, so we know you consider yourself a witch.
Yeah.
What is your ritual, or like what are your beliefs, practices? How long have you been a witch? Where did it come from?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think I've always been a witch. Like I look back and I'm like, even when I was 4 and I was like looking for fairy houses, like I was a little baby
Yeah.
witch. Like I absolutely was. And I feel very, very fortunate that I was raised in a super encouraging and tolerant family and environment that like,
That's awesome.
my dad took me to the magic shop and like,
Wow.
he was out there buying his own herbs and I found my first Silver Raven Wolf book, like I had this kind of ally and partner in exploring different spiritual paths. And then I was raised sort of loosely in the Unitarian Universalist Church too, which is a super supportive kind of faith tradition that encourages young people to explore different paths. And so there were a lot of people my age who were like really interested in exploring Wicca, exploring paganism, etc. And so like we had these pathways. And I think like as a teenager, I was very much interested in like in exploring those pathways. And I don't think I really started calling myself formally a witch until a few years ago. Even though I've always kind of known it in my heart. 'Cause even though there's really like a supportive atmosphere that I grew up in and still am in, like there's still some weird stigma around it. So it's like you have to still be kind of careful about where you wear that identity.
Totally. And it's shifted a lot in the last few years, I feel like, in terms of like
For
people
sure.
coming out of the broom closet and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's just one of those things that it's like, I'll disclose it if it feels appropriate. If not, like, it's not like I'm hiding anything and people can kind of like look at me sometimes and just know. But, but yeah, so it's really always been part of my identity, whether or not I was using the word witch, because I've always been someone who like believed in magic and believed that that our science and our understanding of the world can coexist with mystery and can coexist with kind of the radical miraculous. And that even as we like start to understand things, Terry Pratchett has this great quote in the Tiffany Aching books that I might butcher, but it's like, it doesn't stop being magic just because you figure out how it's done.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
And like that's so meaningful to me. And it's like magic can be like your grandmother's amazing strudel recipe. Like
Right.
that is absolutely a piece of like folk magic that's passed down in your family, and the way the like roots respond the same way and also a completely different way every year to the way the sun is angled, like that's extraordinary and that's freaking miraculous. And like if you're not looking down at that and being like, this is amazing, this world is incredible, like you're missing something.
100%.
So like
Totally.
so my orientation towards my witchcraft and my practice has I think gotten more capacious over the years and has also gotten very forgiving and has also gotten it's just gotten so big, and it's like it's a lens through which I view the world. It's not necessarily like something I sit down every moon cycle and do a formal ritual. Sometimes I do, but sometimes I just want to learn, and sometimes I just want to teach. And like one of the most fulfilling things about it has been like raising my kid, and I'm not like actively raising him to be a witch necessarily, but I am teaching him like the dandelions that you're picking right now, like here are some of the medicinal properties of dandelions, and like, isn't that amazing? And like, we're talking about fairy rings, and we're talking about, you know, what the shortest day looks like and what the longest day looks like. So being able to like teach the next generation wonder and mystery is like super fulfilling and exciting to me.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's wonderful. Well, so I think we should draw a card, but
Yeah, I know. It's getting. I was like looking at all the questions.
I feel like we've
I'm
covered so much, but before we do, how can people follow you? How can people listen to Sleep and Sorcery and your other podcast? And how can people buy your book, Sleep and Sorcery?
Yeah. So starting with the book, like I said, the hardcover is available now at crosscrowbooks.com. And again, just a gorgeous edition. And then the pre-order is open for the paperback, and that's also available at the publisher, crosscrowbooks.com. And you can find that kind of wherever books are sold now too. So please check it out. I would love, to see that on your bedside. And very much hope you enjoy. If you would like to fall asleep to the dulcet tones of my voice, you can find Sleep and Sorcery wherever podcasts are found. And then on Insight Timer, which is a wonderful place to listen and also find other meditation, mindfulness content. Really, Insight Timer is what helped Sleep and Sorcery grow to the levels that it has. So I'm a huge fan of that platform, and you can find so much good stuff there. And then also on YouTube, Sleep and Sorcery is available. Then, if you want to listen to my other show that I do with my husband irregularly, it's called the Midnight Myth Podcast, and that is also available wherever podcasts are found. And my husband does a spin-off Stephen King podcast, if you happen to be a horror literature fan, called The Wheel of Ka, and you can find that in the Midnight Myth feed and on its own feed as well.
Amazing.
And then follow me on Instagram, Sleep and Sorcery on Instagram.
Perfect. And it's just at Sleep and Sorcery?
Yep, that's it.
And then, I forgot to mention this, but I did tease this earlier. So please do listen. I highly recommend listening to Sleep and Sorcery and all of Laurel's
and also
podcasts.
buying the book, and then also
but also buy the
following
book
her on social
because
media.
the book has an exclusive story that you will not be able to listen to at all. That's not available on the podcast, called The Song of Persephone.
Yeah.
So you can only read that in the book, so you must buy it.
Yes.
Definitely get the book, and the book's beautiful. I mean, I love the illustration, the drawings with it's beautiful, and the rituals. You don't get that in the podcast, so you need both.
Yep.
Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. Great.
Shall we draw a card?
Yeah, that's all I was about to say.
Is that what you want to say?
Yeah.
I would love to.
All right. What deck do you have for us this week?
Okay, so I have the Druid Plant Oracle, which is an oracle deck I've been working with for a little while and really love. It's by Philip and Stephanie Cargom, who Philip Cargom is the head of the Order of Bards, Obates, and Druids, and then it's illustrated by Will Worthington. So gorgeous. They have an animal companion deck too, which is the first one that I got.
One.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. I used the illustration on the cover of it as inspiration for one of my tattoos, because I have a falcon tattoo, and it's just so great.
Yeah, we have a couple. Emily has the Druid Craft Tarot.
Yeah,
by them.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's
then I have the
next
Animal
on my list.
Oracle. So we love the Cargoms.
Yeah, we could join forces, and sometimes I'll mix the animal and the plant deck together, and I'll do a mixed pull.
That's so fun. I've been wanting a new Oracle deck. I'm such a I'm a witch hoarder. I have a whole cabinet full of witch supplies. I could open my own shop, and I have probably 15 decks. I don't need any more, but I really want a new Oracle deck, so maybe that'll be my next one.
Yeah, it is beautiful, and it plays really nicely with the animal deck. So I pre-shuffled this. I can just grab one off the top.
Okay,
if that's,
yeah.
Whatever
Feel
you
it
feel
with your
called
heart.
to.
All right. Okay, so I drew Woad.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Yeah, WOAD. So,
Rhymes with toad.
yeah, and this makes me think of what the Picts would kind of dye themselves with, the blue dye plant. And I'll show it to you guys.
Yeah.
So
Beautiful.
I'm seeing a plant that sort of resembles a dandelion. with its greens, and then it's taller and has these kind of like puffy yellow flowers. And then the card also has in the foreground, there's like a spear, a golden spear sitting on the ground. There is another plant that I don't totally recognize. I think there's a bird's nest up in the corner, and then there is a carving of like a wild boar on the.
So cool.
Wow, it's gorgeous.
Do you mind sending us a photo of that? And
Yeah,
we'll put
please.
it on our
We'll
Instagram.
post it on our Instagram.
Absolutely will. It's beautiful. I have not actually drawn this card before, so I'm gonna.
I was going to say, do they
have?
have a guidebook with
Yeah,
it?
I'm going to check out what the guidebook says. Okay, so let's see. We do. Okay, so there's also holly leaves depicted in this.
Ooh.
I just realized. The guidebook has told me. Okay,
So
great.
pretty.
All right, here's the upright meaning. Nothing evokes the feeling of freedom more than the sight of a clear blue sky, and woad dye reproduces this shade of blue perfectly on cloth or in paint. If you've chosen this card, it may indicate that you are striving to gain freedom, and the fact that woad evokes the qualities of both bardistry and warriorhood offers a clue to the way forward. Bardistry is the art of the bard, who in the old days was druid storyteller, poet, or musician. Each of us has a bard, a creative self within us, and this card suggests that the true freedom comes when you are able to give full expression to your creativity. To do this, you sometimes need the energy of a warrior, not to wound others, but to provide you with the aggression, ambition, and single-mindedness to achieve your aim. Without these qualities, it is hard to avoid stifling your creativity with concern for others' needs and doubts about your own abilities.
Wow.
I swear I didn't plan
Dang.
that. Oh my God.
That's amazing.
That
And you
was- I
also
mean-
refer to yourself as a bard, I know. So that's just
Yeah.
like, this was so perfect.
Yeah, it feels apropos.
Also,
That
just I feel like as creatives that last line really hit.
That was very special. And that's like some of the stuff I've been kind of like working through this week feels like it was woven into that.
The card,
Yeah,
the card,
100%.
yeah, the card knew. The card found you on purpose.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You just got to look.
That's so
Wow.
great.
Okay, cool.
Well,
What a world.
What? Wow. I love it. I love it. Okay, well, please do follow Laurel on Instagram at Sleep and Sorcery, and you can order the beautiful hardcover version of Sleep and Sorcery at crosscrowbooks.com, right?
Yep.
As
And
a
we'll
breakdown.
tag them and
Yeah,
stuff
we'll
so
tag
that
everything
it's
on our
easier to find them.
Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah, you can follow us on Instagram at Witchcast Podcast. You can always check us out and all of our resources at witchcastpodcast.com. You can email us at witchcastpodcast@gmail.com if you have any thoughts, feelings, concerns, or,
Fun
just
gifts.
want to tell us that you love us.
Yeah.
Always available.
Cat pics.
While you're out there on the internet, you can always leave this podcast a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts, but especially on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I know have an actual rating system. I'm not sure they all do. But those would be good places to leave that 5-star review that I'm sure you were thinking about. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time.
Hex yeah!
'Cause it's Witchcast.